Jolly old chaps, looks as though we're on a bit of another monster hunt. We're trying to find another killer. Reminds me of the days of Jack the Ripper. Maybe this time we'll actually find him. What do you say, chaps? Yeah.
Goodness gracious, sir, what is that awful noise?
Sounds as though my Uncle Wilbur is trying to make merry with the wood chipper again. Oh God, it sounds like my Uncle Cleet is getting into a jar of honey. The wrong way. No, I've heard this noise before. It's Yoko Ono, trying to screech. Yes, it's AC/DC. I know it well. Good God, it sounds as if the prostitutes are rioting because of the salsa verde again. Oh dear Lord, Father McKinley has found the orphanage.
What's that awful sound, sir? You don't see a table down the outside, is it? I ain't had nothing like it before in my life.
What?
Hello and welcome to Entertainment Rebooted.
No, go on. Haunted by a dreaded curse, terror in the night. Shewolf of London. Welcome back to Entertainment Rebooted and another episode of Cinema Revisited, the classic Universal monster movies, where we are watching all of the classic Universal monster movies and talking about the good, the bad, the ugly, and the iconic of these great classic horror films. I am joined as per usual by my esteemed co-host, DJ. Say hi, DJ.
Hello.
All right, DJ. Tonight we watch 1946's Shewolf of London. For those who have not seen this 61-minute masterpiece, please recap the plot.
This one's actually a rough one to do. Okay, so this one takes place after the original Werewolf of London, or at least it refers to it directly.
Yes.
That was the first werewolf movie that was done in the classic monster films, followed by 5, I think, other werewolf films with Lon Chaney.
So there are 3, because
There's
the Wolfman,
The Wolfman.
Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, House of Frankenstein. Okay, so there are 4.
Four. Yeah, 4 films.
House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula.
Featuring Lon Chaney as the Wolfman. This goes back to the classic Werewolf of London that predated that, and it is it actually clarifies if it's the daughter or just a.
Yeah, it is.
It's actually his daughter. Okay.
Yes, it is his daughter. She is inheriting his estate. This movie also takes place not in like modern times. It doesn't take place in the 1940s. It takes place at the turn of the century, so the early 1900s, late 1800s.
Yep. So yeah, this refers back to the Werewolf of London, and it is about the daughter who is staying with her aunt and cousin in their house.
Her house, the Greenby house.
Yes, it's her. It's her estate.
The father's estate.
It's the estate.
Yeah.
And she is about to get married to a young man who she's been courting. The aunt gives away to the daughter that their family is actually not related to her by blood, that she came to take care. She is the caretaker of the house, and the actual owner of the estate is the young mistress.
The caretaker of the estate is the aunt. I don't remember the aunt's name, but
I can't remember
is the one that is taking care of the house.
Yes, and her daughter is staying there with her, so she confides that in with her daughter, and she starts taking care of these like, I don't know, like weird rumors are going around about werewolf stuff, and then there's actually some killings that start to happen, and she takes care of her niece, who's not really her niece, but takes care of her niece during that time, and she starts to think that she is the werewolf, and that the curse has gone into her.
The main character does.
Yes. And she stops seeing her fiance, and she stops wanting to see anybody, and she starts going crazy, And it turns out that the aunt has been behind it the entire time and was messing with her, and she was the one killing everybody. And we suspected it so early on, but we didn't think they'd actually do it.
We say early on, but like this is a 61-minute movie. Probably about 35, 40 minutes in, I started being like, the aunt's behind it. She's actually trying to drive her insane. And then it started confirming it. And because we have a tendency to overthink these movies a lot. So for
every time we overthink it, we're wrong. And it's like, dang it.
And then this time we were right. And it was like, vindication. Finally!
It was a good twist. Okay, that's it. I won't go to too much detail because that's basically the film, but there's some fun major twists in this film. It was a good one, and it threw it off from some of the other films that we watched, which I will get into with our like kind of review section of it. But yeah, it was good. It was fun.
It is a fun movie. A lot more fun than I thought it was going to be.
Yes,
this is actually one of those movies that it has like a 17% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I feel that is actually unjustified. I'm going to come off as that horror movie douche. It completely subjects us to a truly original story. It's subversive, and it's truly a hidden horror gem.
It is subversive in a fun way, and it feels tropey now. I bet if you watch it in a modern light, films have done this lots of times now. But this is in a string of 30 classic monster films. This is the first one to do it, so yeah, it felt unique.
I believe that this film benefits from the fact if you watch the entire like series of Universal monster movies, it really helps with that. I could see why some people would probably have gripes and complaints. I mean,
if you watched The Werewolf of London and then this one, I could see that. Yes. If you watched every single one like we did, like you just said, yeah, it stands out significantly from that group.
And the other thing is that it stands out as a lot better than the last 3 or 4 Universal monster movies that we've seen. I can see why a complaint, though, would be, well, it's not technically a monster. You know, because she's not a monster. The aunt is just murdering people and making her think that it's part of this thing. Anyway, we'll get into more details and things like that. Let's go into it. Good, bad, ugly, iconic. What's good about She-Wolf of London?
Oh, the acting in this one is really solid.
Yes, very.
It's one of the things that some of the last films too that it seems like kind of a low bar, but I mean, the original monster films in the series felt like plays, and they were acted pretty strongly like plays, like a Shakespearean play. They acted their hearts out, and you can tell there became a point where they've been making so many of these movies, the acting kind of started to slack off a bit. They started to become B movies. Yeah, so they weren't taking it seriously. Yeah, they weren't taking it seriously. This one, the characters are taking it seriously. It feels like the original Invisible Man again, where like they're really into their characters. And there's some like in everyone, like the constable, the inspector, the main characters, the aunt. Man, does she do a good job? Like it's just really solid. And they play their characters so well that it's convincing. Again. It's just been a while since I've really got some convincingness out of these films, but it's beyond that. It's beyond just the bare minimum of being good. It's intense, and just some of the dialogue lines that companion with their acting is really good stuff.
The highlight as far as acting for sure is the monologue that the aunt gives, the main antagonist of the film. She actually does the villain's monologue. But when she gives the monologue, it's a lot of these, like, she does these, like, subtle gestures, and it's like she's showing more of the unsteadiness of her mentality as well as just, like, physically. So the knife that she's holding is shaking slightly. Like, she develops this tremor halfway through her rant. And the entire thing just is extremely haunting because the acting on the other side of this monologue, the main character is drugged and she's starting to fall asleep. And she's actually playing it very well, how she's terrified, but she literally cannot keep awake. But yeah, that was the highlight for me as far as acting. You're right. There's a lot of really decent, like, good acting in this movie.
What about you, sir?
I would say that subtle storytelling was good in this one because you have a little bit of cinematography. At first, the cinematography comes off as, wait, this kind of feels like it got filmed like way earlier. They're not moving around as much. It doesn't seem to be doing very much in way of, visuals. But then the last 15-20 minutes of the movie especially, they kick it up a notch.
I didn't notice this until, but I kind of looked back, like the Dutch angle that they did, what you're talking about.
Yeah.
They did slowly start tilting the camera, and a few shots before that, it was slowly getting more crooked and more crooked and more crooked.
Until it
was like 45 degrees. I'm like, wait, I just realized how subtle that was. It was just like slowly turning.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, it's this subtle like storytelling that's done visually, but also like the music and things like that. So the daughter goes and leaves to inform the police because our main character decides to just report herself because she's fully convinced at this point that she's murdering people.
Mm-hmm.
So she asks her cousin to go and report to the police and bring them back so I can confess so that we can get this over with. And when she leaves, the aunt begins to go up the stairs, and the music is extremely menacing, but it's very quiet. And as she's going up the stairs, the music is menacing and the angle begins to shift. By the time she gets up to the stairs to the main room, we're at a complete Dutch angle. And Dutch angles are used to show that there's something unsteady, there's something unpleasant, there's something terribly wrong. And the monologue and the scene right before the monologue, the Dutch angle, the way that they move it, I pointed this out to you as well, is that while she's doing all of these things and she's giving the drinks, and that's when I'm starting to develop it and be like, oh man, now that I think about it, she's giving her drinks every time that she's going into the room and she falls asleep.
It
and
starts calling back the foreshadowing that it was doing.
Yeah. And then it shoots back to the aunt, and she's at a Dutch angle. And I pointed out to DJ, I was like, either this is really good, subtle storytelling because she's the villain and there's something terribly wrong with her, or this is really done poorly because if you're going to make the insanity angle, anytime that our main character's on the screen should be at a Dutch angle because her world is cockeyed. It is wrong. There's something menacing happening. And the aunt should be at a steady angle.
Right.
Because she's on solid ground. She's actually who she says she is. So the fact that the entire time it's at a Dutch angle works really well because the entire time, like I said, it's just these subtle cues that we tend to pick up.
You know what? This actually feels like a Hitchcock film.
It does.
It feels like a Hitchcock film. I just realized that. That's why it was kind of eerie. It feels like a Hitchcock film. It's a lot of shadowing and like, and then it starts to get slightly out unhinged. Yeah, I just realized that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Before he did anything.
Well, I mean, Hitchcock started in the 40s and he got really big in the 50s and 60s.
I don't know when he actually started, but I feel like films like this were a big inspiration for him.
Yeah, I can see that.
I just watching this film was like, he had to have been inspired by this because a lot of what he did this film does a little bits of that already. It's just interesting.
It's possible, definitely. So anyway, yeah, that's what I would say is good, just like subtle storytelling and some of the visual storytelling and stuff. How about bad? What's bad?
Actually, the bad about this film is also kind of a good foil to good. The twist and all stuff is really fun, but it's kind of bad that there's not, in a way, that there isn't actually a monster in this because it is in the monster film line, but there is no actual monster. And I feel like they could have done the twist and still had a monster be part of it, or do more to connect it to the other films of the universe. It feels more like they just wanted to make a thriller, and they're like, well, we're only going to fund this if you make it a werewolf film. So that is a little frustrating, actually, despite the fact that, and I can get where some of the people are like, this, and the reviews are like, well, it's not a werewolf film. It's not. If you were going into this thinking that's what it's going to be, you could be disappointed by that. So for me, that's the bad. It doesn't really break the film because it does reference the previous film. It exists in the same universe. It'd almost be like taking like a modern film, like a Marvel film or something, a superhero film, and then filming about a regular person who thinks they're a superhero. Think of it like WandaVision inside the Marvel universe. It ties to the universe, it references it, but it doesn't really have anything to do with it. That could be disappointing for some people. It's original, it's clever, But if you're expecting it to tie into the monster series, that's where you're gonna feel a little disconnected.
Yeah, I can see that definitely.
You're expecting a she-wolf. You're expecting a werewolf killing people. That's what you expect when you expect a werewolf film.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I don't see it as an ugly because it doesn't break the film. It's just not what you expect. That's really all I have for the bad there. There's a few little nitpicky things here, but that's the big one for me.
Yeah.
If you went in expecting that and that's what you wanted out of it, you're going to be disappointed. I didn't know what to expect, so I was pretty... At this point, we watched so many of these, I didn't know what was going to happen.
That's true. There was actually a scene, too, where she's standing right in front of the mirror, and I was just like, oh, here it comes.
Yeah, you were expecting...
Because I thought that they were going to do the transformation.
Yes!
But then she does the transform, and it's like, oh...
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. That's why it's a bad. It actually is a little bit of a letdown. Oh, they didn't do the transformation. Yeah.
She's not actually a werewolf.
Yeah. What about you?
I do agree with you that it is a little bit of a bad. It is something that should be noted. Like, there isn't a transformation. She isn't a werewolf. There isn't actually a monster. But I think that it's...
Well, there is a monster.
But it's not a...
But it's not...
It's not a classic...
Well, I'll get into it
It's
later.
a human monster. It's a monstrous person.
Not an outright
I'll
hit that more later because I have something for that with my iconic. But yeah,
I think we probably have the same iconic. Honestly,
what was that?
The
room is making noises that I don't like.
Well, you see, there's no monster in the movie, so the house decided to compensate, and the ghost is out.
Oh, great.
The Frogger who lives in my basement ended up trapped in the basement. Now he's coming for us. Anyway, I do think that is something that I think is worthy of note. Like, yes, there isn't actually a monster. It is considered a Universal monster movie. It is tied directly to another Universal monster movie.
Right.
However, I'll get in. I have an idea of actually how I would modernize this film.
Okay.
So we'll go off of that, but I'll just tack on with you. Yep, it's bad. Otherwise, the film's relatively solid. How about ugly?
So this was the harder one for me because I almost did that as an ugly, but I don't think it really breaks the film if that's the case. For me, actually, the ugly is there's just a massive amount of confusion early on with who's who. They do not do a really good job of differentiating some of the characters, particularly the two cousins are like the same person. Like
they're very similar.
They look very similar. Through a lot of the film, they dress them very similar. They have similar hairstyle. Later on in the film, they start to differentiate them significantly, especially when she's in bed. They give her a very different hairstyle. They show more clean that her hair is darker. Yeah. But through several parts of the film, I had trouble tucking them apart because they gave them the same hairstyle. The coloration and the angles of the camera make their hairs both look kind of blondish, where it's actually darker for the one's maybe even brunette. It's hard to tell.
She's probably like a chestnut.
Yeah,
I think that she's probably a darker blonde.
Yeah, it gets tough to tell them apart at times, and they have very similar like relationships to each other and what's going on. So early in the film, there's a lot of confusion there. Some of the characters that get used early on, there's the inspector guy who comes and shows up, and then like doesn't show up for the rest of the films at the very end, and then it becomes like his second in command like is the focus, and then he gets killed, and it goes back up. That's the ugly for me. There's a lot of disjointedness, discontinuation of characters. Some of the things that actually I thought Universal had finally got away from come back in this film. Here's a character that's very important. Oh, we don't see them again. Oh, here's a character. Oh, nope, we're never gonna see them again. The boyfriend of the cousin. He shows up twice. Like once to be like a potential murder victim, and you can tell a little bit that there's a foreshadowing there. Like she almost realizes who she was. It was like, oh crap, I can't kill my daughter's lover. But then he does, and then he shows up following she goes out, the cousin goes out.
The cousin goes out. She's followed by the main character's love interest, followed by
her love interest, and nothing comes of any of that. Like, and then they all show up at the end.
Well, because they were getting the
but it's like what was that? What was that scene? What was the point of that? There's a lot of that in this film where it's just like they were trying to pad it for time even. My ugly is just that, like discontented, weirdly broken scenes, moments, and cinematography that don't really fit in with the rest of the film. Almost like filler. I think that's what I'm getting to. Filler. It feels like the film wasn't long enough, so they put a bunch of weird scenes in there that don't really mean anything and don't go anywhere. And there were like 4 or 5 like that. Early in the film, there were several. When they have the race, like, that's a really good scene because it like establishes their character and stuff.
And you get the obligatory exposition dump.
Yes.
Where both of the characters explain their entire relationship and exactly where they are.
Yes. But that's the thing.
It works though because it is like it's very crisp storytelling because it is like actually
right. But the problem with that is they do that and then immediately after stretch out a bunch of nonsense that doesn't matter.
Right.
So why did you rush their development of their relationship when you could have developed that instead of just making a bunch of nonsense scenes that don't matter in the film?
Because DJ, this is the second movie that you show in a double screening, and people are already fucking tired.
I'm gonna have to bleep that out. Thanks, man.
People are already tired.
Oh,
I don't actually curse a lot on this channel, like as far as like that.
That's the point. We're not supposed to. Not gonna fix it. Okay, look, it's the accordion effect. This was the thing that I had. I know there was at least 1 or maybe 2 other films that had this problem.
Yeah.
Where it rushes through the story and then it slows down. Then it rushes through the story and it slows down. It does that a lot in the film. It's only 60 minutes long. It's kind of a weird thing to do in a film this long. That short to stretch and run. And it's just weird. I kind of did not miss that effect. It's not as bad as some of the other ones.
Yeah.
But I think it stands out more in this one because I liked it so much. That one thing hit me really hard. Like, don't do this thing again. Stop. No, Universal, please. We were past this. You haven't done this for like several films. Why are you doing this again? That was mine.
I would say that the ugly is that there is some costuming continuity issues. Mainly.
Yes.
The main continuity issue is, yes, at the beginning, to kind of go with you, they do all dress very similarly. Sometimes it can be kind of hard at first to determine who's who because you have to really like look at their face because they do have very different faces.
Yes.
But when their hairstyle is very similar, when their clothing is very similar,
and you're doing a faraway shot,
yeah, it's hard to tell who's who. But the thing is too that when the she-wolf appears to attempt to murder the artist boyfriend, she's wearing the exact same clothes as the daughter, exact same clothes. So it is a thing where that specifically is an very poorly put together continuity. And sometimes, like I said, they dress very similarly, but that was the big one. That's the big one because when you're following around this she-wolf, you're following her around long enough that you kind of get the distinct features of her costume. You get the shawl over her head, and you get the dress and the way that the dress looks, the pattern of the dress. And then when the daughter shows up in the exact same clothes, I literally was like, okay, so she has to be the she-wolf because she's wearing the exact same clothes. But then it turns out, no, it's the mom.
It's a red herring, but it almost seems a little too on the nose.
It was too intentional.
Yeah, it was too intentional.
Yeah.
That
was a big ugly. It kind of breaks the continuity and also breaks the immersion a bit.
Yep.
All right. I think that we probably have the same one, but I'll go ahead and let you do what you always do and steal my ideas. What is your iconic?
Actually, my iconic is full to your ugly. You were talking about like the on the nose. What I think makes this film really iconic against especially some of the other monster films is the like over the top, almost like audience, like titillating the audience levels of foreshadowing. The
So this is iconic?
Yes. So
Okay.
in all of the films that they've done, there either is not very much foreshadowing or it's very careful and intentional. This film gave so many clues that the aunt was the villain that you almost felt like that there's no way it can be. Like it was she gives the whole thing about how this isn't actually really our house and she's the real heiress here, and we if you don't marry well, like we're not gonna be anywhere. Well, that's an interesting thing to say.
That's a weird way to establish motive.
Yeah, and then the when she pulls up her stuff and she has the freaking thing, a murder weapon, not claws, a murder weapon.
She had the motives, the means, and then she's constantly giving her the drinks. The opportunity.
It was they establish her as a villain so clearly that when they finally do it, you almost feel dumb for doubting it could have been it. But the reason that you do, if you watch this film after almost any modern film, it would feel way too on the nose.
Yeah.
If you watched any modern horror film or investigative film and watched this film, everybody would catch it. But us watching this after all of these Universal monster films in a row, it did not go that way. Because they do these foreshadowing things like they're going to do something with it, and then they never do. They finally did the thing we wanted it to happen. We're like, oh my gosh, there is no werewolf. It's actually just her. Wouldn't that be insane? We're sitting here the whole time saying this stuff. And then it was. And we were like, your vindication, finally. It felt so good for them to actually finally do something twisty and interesting.
Pure dopamine.
Pure dopamine. The reason, and I think a part of the strong part we enjoyed this film so much is because it finally rewarded our insanity of like our crazy theories. It gave it to us. And none of the other ones ever came even close to, I think we got one once. But we have those theories like with the mad dog. What if this is actually what's happening? Oh, what if it was this? Oh, that would be so cool. Never happens.
It's always the obvious thing.
It's always the obvious thing.
Yeah.
And this one, it is technically the obvious thing. Like they're foreshadowing it like crazy, but we thought it was a red herring.
But it's not the fun obvious.
We thought it would actually be a werewolf doing it. And when it wasn't, we were like, holy crap. And then afterwards, I'm like, oh, but there's no werewolf in this movie. Oh.
Yeah.
But that's, for me, that's the iconic, is it breaks the mold and it goes with, it goes off the rails in a way that you don't, you probably should expect it to. But like I said, if you watched all the rest of these, it doesn't do what you think it's going to do. So many of these movies either, I think, were planning to go a different direction and didn't, or left out key points of the film that would have made more sense if they were put back in. This one just did the thing, and it felt so gratifying. And maybe that's just like a personal thing too, but it also stands out from every one of the other monster films, where the monster is not the wolf or the monster, it's the freaking aunt. She's the monster. Your turn.
I actually have a much different iconic.
Nice.
That's the ultimate twist. I would say that the iconic about this movie is that it actually makes the worst Universal monster movie that we have seen historically better.
That's true.
Because the thing is that if you are watching She-Wolf of London and you have Werewolf of London in mind, it makes that story a lot better and a lot more comprehensive. Because if you look at it through the lens of the aunt is purposely trying to drive her cousin or her whoever, the person that she's taking care of, the house's daughter, the main character, insane, she would have said a story about the Green Beep curse. She would have made up an excuse for the death of her father. And the ridiculousness of Werewolf of London, including all these cheesy lines and all these different things that are happening, make a lot more sense if it is an aunt trying to get a little girl to be afraid of a curse so that when she becomes of age, she goes insane and the aunt gets the house permanently.
Right. It also doesn't belittle the original film because it can be what really happened.
Yes.
But it can be like her version of the events.
Exactly. It can be what actually
There was
happened.
actually a werewolf, but that's a cheesy, weird way to tell the story.
Yes, but the thing is too that when you're watching this movie, all of the characters in this one, because it's not really Universal Monster Prime universe. It's not Wolfman, Frankenstein, Mad Dr. Dracula. It's kind of in its own little separate timeline.
Yeah.
It's in Werewolf of London timeline. When we're interacting with the characters at the beginning of the story, we have one guy from Scotland Yard who's like, it could be a werewolf. And then everybody else is like, don't be absolutely stupid, Reginald. It's definitely not a werewolf. There's no such thing. It makes sense that most of the people would say there's no such thing because there actually isn't. But you have some legends. You have a couple of people that are like, oh, it could be a werewolf. I mean, they're being attacked like it's a monster. And then the daughter believes that it's a werewolf because the aunt told this story, fantastical story, about Greenby and a curse of a werewolf.
Yep.
But it's one of those things where the storytelling becomes better if you view Werewolf of London as maybe not true. And this fantastical story.
As an embellishment, yeah.
Like, that's an embellishment. I just think that due to the twist in this one and the fact that it's this like sub-universe movie, it does make the Werewolf of London, which is one that we really did not like when we first watched it, a little bit more bearable.
It actually feels like they were trying to clean that one up with this film.
And they succeeded. In a way.
Yeah.
All right. One thing we like to do after Good, Bad, Ugly, Iconic on this channel is we like to talk about what's a way that you would modernize these movies. So 1946, long time ago. What would you do to bring She-Wolf of London to a modern audience? Either in spirit, storytelling, or modernizing? How would you do it?
This would be tough because this one, it feels like the most modern of the films now because it's got that modern twist of there actually was no monster, which has now been done to death.
Yeah, it's more of a thriller than a supernatural.
It's more of a thriller than supernatural. It makes it a lot harder to pull off. I actually would be fine with the way that it went, but actually have a werewolf in it. What I would do is have the red herring where like the aunt was like poisoning or doing something to her. And it was actually it actually like she's actually trying to frame her for being crazy and everything, but the drug or the treatments that she gives her actually turns out like she didn't even believe the stories that she told her niece. Turns out that the werewolf actually was real, and the stuff that she does to her like brings out the werewolf in her, and then she kills the aunt as the werewolf. I just think that'd be like a good comeuppance. Like she creates the monster her lies and deceit actually creates the thing that she was trying to create, and it ends up being her own destruction. I felt when she falls down the stairs onto her own knife, that was a little anticlimactic.
Yeah, it
would have been really great comeuppance if she actually turns the werewolf and then like kills her. That would have been really good, and that's just where it ends. Because then you could leave it open for more or interpretation. But otherwise, like the red herring, definitely have more, not have the foreshadowing so in your face. Have a lot more murders. Like there's only 2 people get killed the entire film.
3.
She says it's just the boy and the detective.
There was a third one. Before the little boy,
no.
There was a news article. Somebody got attacked.
Somebody got attacked.
That's what it
by
was.
An actual dog, and then she killed the boy when that came out, and she realized she was starting to believe it. That's when she got the idea to start doing it because she killed the boy. She said the first one that she killed was the boy, which means the first victim, in the beginning was actually a victim.
Probably a dog.
Was actually a dog or something, or The other thing that would be really fun to do was that the aunt's actually trying to set her as crazy, but she is actually the one. She is actually turning into a werewolf, and she doesn't even realize it. Like, she kills the first victim, and then the aunt starts killing every single night, or every few nights, and doesn't realize it's to the full moon, and then somebody else gets killed that she didn't kill. She's like, wait a minute, that wasn't mine. The daughter's actually a werewolf. The niece. Yeah, that would be kind of a fun little subversion, because then you wouldn't expect it in a modern film where you think it's giving you the red herring treatment of there's not really a monster, but then there actually is. The aunt is the real monster, but the werewolf actually exists as well.
That's fair. Oh, me?
Yeah, that's the only way I could think to twist it, is to put it back on its original nose.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, DJ, as you know, like I love me some werewolves.
Yes,
they're like my favorite monster.
And there are no werewolves in this, John.
I know.
You still liked it.
I liked it.
That's something to be said.
I liked it. I do like me some werewolves, though. So obviously, when we're making this for a modern audience, there's got to not be werewolves. I'm just kidding.
There's got to not be werewolves. There can't be werewolves.
There can't be werewolves.
There can't be werewolves in this movie.
Nobody wants to watch a werewolf movie.
No one.
Especially me. Fan of werewolves. One thing.
What if we made it set in America and it's based on the Wendigo story?
And then we can also like make it a thing where it's like this guy has absolutely no chemistry with his wife, and they have a daughter that he's really protective of, but a wife that he doesn't really care about, and the whole messaging of the movie is that he just loves them so darn much.
And his dad was the original fighter of the werewolf, but it turns into the werewolf, and then turns him into the werewolf, and then he tries to kill his own family, and then his wife has to shoot him dead.
Yeah.
And look almost like she's actually really sad about it.
Almost. But it's not even... And we need to make sure that we do it when we have people who can do Wendigos for cheap.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry, Wolfmen. For cheap. They don't transform werewolf for the Wolfman.
What was the name of that movie? Wolf? Was it Werewolf?
No, it was Wolfman.
It was Wolfman. It was Wolfman. That's
2025
right.
2025 Wolfman.
Yep, Wolfman.
Not a wolf, barely a man.
And they like recreated the scene from like Jurassic Park, where they're like on top of the thing and it's like attacking them from the other side.
And then he's jumping and he's just ripping through this stuff, making velociraptor noises.
They just took that same scene from Jurassic World.
The movie is awful.
Okay, John, give us the real one. The not crappy version of whatever that was.
The thing about... So if I were to modernize it, one thing that I thought of that could be interesting is, what if you combined Werewolf of London with She-Wolf of London? And you just told it as one story. And you made it where the aunt is recounting the events to a younger girl, and you're doing the Werewolf of London story. And it's the aunt, and she's recounting, and she's like, your father was a great man. He was greatly misunderstood, however, due to this one terrible, tragic incident. And she tells the story of Werewolf of London. The daughter kind of believes it. We start developing the relationship with her beau, and we get into more of this like, oh, the wedding's starting to happen, things are starting to work out. The daughter learns about the fact that we don't actually really have any money, we don't really have any inheritance, we're here because I am taking care of the house, that is the only reason that we have it. And then the wedding gets moved up, and we just kind of think of it as like, oh man, the wedding's moved up, and she's going through the park and people are getting attacked every now and then in the park, and we start thinking that maybe she got attacked, maybe she's inherited this curse because she's coming of age or something like that. And what ends up happening is that we do get the twist where it's like, no, actually the aunt kind of just planted that seed just in case. And now that you are of age and you're getting married, and you rapidly were getting married, she decided to bring about her plan so that she could throw you in an asylum and take the estate from you because you are mentally unwell and insane, kind of thing. And it is a thing where we get more of a fleshed out plot where it's like, yeah, the aunt is this person that was in charge of the estate, but it is a thing where she kind of made up this whole story. The dad did die tragically. He probably was shot, perhaps. But
my thought would have been if you were going to take the Werewolf of London story and make it fake, he was a botanist. He got like a poison or a plant that drove him crazy.
Yeah,
like that would be the easiest.
You would just make it as simple as that.
It's the easiest possible. Yeah, like,
and it would confirm that story because people wouldn't be like, "Oh yeah, he turned into a werewolf." No, they would probably just say like, "Oh, he got exposed to when he was out in the mountain in the Himalayas, the weather or something in the air got him, and he just kind of became this monster."
Yeah, he went crazy.
Yeah, he went crazy and he became a monster. It's not specifically a werewolf, and it is just probably a thing of, no, he went out into the mountains in the Himalayas, froze slightly, and he didn't come back right.
Yep.
You know, it could literally be something like that, but the aunt embellishes it just to plant seeds, and she gives her all these little books and things like that. And she comes up with the whole plan because the girl maybe says something where it's like, I had a dream that I was a wolf.
The drug that she's drugging her with is made of the same plant that made her dad go crazy.
Could be.
And then she goes crazy and kills. She's actually hallucinating and going crazy.
Or it's just a hallucinogen, and the dad shot himself.
Yeah, maybe
because he convinced himself that he had turned into a monster. See, there's ways that you can do it, but I think if you combine the story Werewolf of London, She-Wolf of London, and you just make it...
That would do a lot better of a job of... And that actually could explain a lot of people who didn't like this one as much if they just watched this one expecting a wolf film. But if you watched Werewolf of London and then She-Wolf of London as a duopoly, as a single story... It's one story.
Yeah.
You could easily make the case that the whole story of the werewolf is made up. So you could even do it in modern times the way they do films, like where they show what the perception of reality, and then later on in the film they go back and show the truth of what really happened. So it's like the werewolf story and what she was told growing up, and then what she believed and how she perceived things, and then it goes back and shows the real events of what actually happened. Yeah. And he gets poisoned by the plant, goes crazy, and then yeah.
It could even be a thing of that constable, like the one that, talks down to the fantastical one. He literally at the end could just be like, no, there's no werewolf. I knew Greenby. I knew him. I was there the night that he shot himself. He had gone insane. He believed that he was a werewolf. And the reporters took that and ran with it.
Yeah.
But in fact, he had gone insane. He had taken a hallucinogen. It was a bad trip.
Yep.
And that's what you're experiencing. That's what you experience. The aunt is killing people, but she is drugging you and sedating you.
And then the real climax of the film goes back and shows that a third time, but he really was a werewolf.
Yeah, the dad should. The last shot.
No,
the dog killed them all.
The dad's actually not really dead. It's like, honey, I'm still alive. And then it's like, what's from Back to the Future, the wolf show.
Teen Wolf?
Teen Wolf. Turns out like Teen Wolf. I'm a wolf too.
No, what you do is the dad comes back and it's just like, oh, Dad, what happened to you? Oh, I just had to go away for a while. And then you get the final shot of the Thriller music video.
Sorry, I messed up your movie a little bit. I just thought it'd be really funny.
I mean, I'd already said pretty much my bit. So yeah, that's what I would do. I would just combine those two stories and make it into this one cohesive.
That would be a really fun thing because you can show her as a little girl, and then it's telling the story of her father and how he died, and the rumors around him being a werewolf and everything, and yeah.
Well, and also if
she's setting it up for a long time.
Yeah, and if the newspaper picked it up that he believed he was a werewolf, so they made it a Penny Dreadful thing, where it's like, no, the botanist actually was a werewolf, and he needed to find a cure. If only he went down the hall to the left like Frankenstein told him to. Dracula has the cure.
He has the cure. He has the cure for the werewolf. Right to the hall to the left. Right there. He told me himself.
See, you see how I'm encased in ice? It also is encased in ice. It's a theme. Don't you get it? But
I still just think of I just one last one of that. It's from Van Helsing. It's like if like he's being encased in ice and Dracula, like you said, is just freezing him. He's like, I will get my revenge. Oh, by the way, don't let me forget. I have a werewolf. I have a cure.
cure for the werewolf.
I have a cure. It's right down the hall to the left on the other side of the room. Just in case anyone ever asks you or needs to, just make sure that you tell them that. Anyway, I am the villain in this movie.
No, probably this is what happened. Ah, yes. The creature, I finally captured you. Now, before I encase you in ice permanently, do you need to use the restroom? Oh, okay. Here we go. Oh, and here's a tour of the castle. As you can see, here are all of my gross babies that you will be giving life to. And then, of course, you know, we have my lovely library. There's the bedroom. There's the cure for werewolfism. And there's the bathroom. I'm sorry, what was that? The cure for werewolfism? Oh, yeah, it's encased in ice down the hall to the left. See it? It's beautiful. It's a cure for werewolves. That's not going to come in handy. Now, after you're done with the restroom, I am going to encase you in ice, and you will become the exposition sickle.
Oh, glory.
We make fun of that movie so much.
It's because it's ridiculous. Why does he know there's a cure? It makes perfect sense.
How does he know how to read?
It makes perfect sense that Dracula has a cure because werewolf is the only thing that can kill him. So of course he would, if there was one, he'd have one because he needs it as a contingency. But why does the Frankenstein monster know where it is and that he has one? Why does he know this?
But the other thing too is Frankenstein is born, right? He has this whole scene after his creator is murdered. He takes him to the windmill in this whole epic scene, and then he falls when the absinthe stash goes up in flames. But then he's just in the basement of this windmill for years. Well, actually, no, it's not years, it's like 6 months.
Yeah.
He's in the basement, though, for like 6 months. And while he's in the basement, he finds a Bible, learns how to read, becomes an evangelist, memorizes verses, and then on top of that, he informs Van Helsing and the monster hunter, Kate Beckinsale, where to look to find the vampires. How does he know this? He's been in a basement 15 minutes after he was created.
He's a book accurate Frankenstein's monster. He's really intelligent and very observant. He is
from the basement. It's in the rubble. He can't escape.
He's Sherlock levels of genius. He just knows things he shouldn't know.
No, the thing is that, you know, all the electricity and stuff running through his head, he's actually, we mentioned this in the review that Universal took down. He is the expositional hive mind. He's made of the dead villagers, and all of the villagers know the plot to the story for no reason. But he's able to still connect to the hive mind. He is the exposition.
Oh, we just couldn't get away with one review without marking on that film one more time.
The more classic Universal monster movies we watch, the more that we start seeing all the little inspirations and things like that Stephen Sommers used to make Van Helsing.
Yes.
So therefore, we have more things to talk about and make fun of that movie for.
Yes. And there's a lot in this. There's a lot of these films in that film. Even in this one, like the twist and stuff, the cleverness of like theatrics. Like you could tell Stephen Sommers, he had to binge watch through these films.
Oh, he had to have been obsessed with them.
It's just amazing.
Speaking of binge watching and being obsessed with movies, We are watching all the classic Universal monster movies. This is not Cinema Revisited, the Van Helsing rant. We are actually watching classic monster movies. We're watching it on this cool box set. We're not sponsored, but we have this Blu-ray box set, classic monster movies. It
30
was
film set.
It was released for the 100th anniversary of Universal. It's all of the Universal monster movies, completely remastered digitally, and they are absolutely gorgeous. They have amazing sound. It's very well put together. We are enjoying this. If you want to follow along, that is the box set to do it.
It starts with 1931's Dracula, and it ends with The Creature Walks Among Us in 1956, which is before they started rebooting them again.
Yep. And that's where we will go with this series. I believe after this series, if you are interested, we are going to be following on the classic Universal monster movies with Hammer Horror. Just because we are getting to that point. So,
yep.
Spoilers for everybody if you are looking forward to things. The next series after classic Universal monster movies, we'll be watching some of the Hammer Horror classics. We like to watch classic movies. We are watching the Mel Brooks movies, DJ and I. The other thing is that with our other co-host, Pat, we're watching The Evil Dead. We watch some B movies, and we're watching all of the classic Godzilla movies. If that interests you, please consider subscribing because we try to put out a movie every single week. Otherwise, be sure to like this video. Let us know in the comments below, what are your thoughts about She-Wolf of London, the Universal monster movies in general, or if you have ideas for any future series and things that you would like us to look at, review, or even other like show ideas. We are always open to those in the comments below. DJ, do you have any final thoughts?
Nope, that's it for me.
All right, then. We've kept you long enough. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you guys in the next video.
Thanks for watching.